What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Tell me more, James.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Oh, God. Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to episode 1. What? What are you looking at me for? Episode 1. Again, I'm at Ref Marsh. We're at WOTR, the show. With me today for Thursday Night Chaser. Jayne.
Hi. Interesting week since coming off the was it the 18th annual Boozies?
Boozies, yep. Yeah,
18.
It's been a busy year
So far. Interesting year.
We haven't even hit a week and that shit with Vince already happened. Like,
I know. What the hell is that?
I was
Dude,
like,
it's like,
bro. Dude,
Here's
also
my
the
opinion.
fact that he emailed that out December 31st, dick move, dude. Just fucking let New Year's lie. We'll get into that. We'll get
if
into
you
stuff.
had that, everybody, if you had that on your bingo card for 2023, that's a shocker.
Oh, I think
I
people assumed that was something like that was going to happen. But let's start with
I don't know.
a little what's in your glass. What are you drinking over there?
Well, you know, I've had an interesting day. I have some regular iced tea. I'm boring today, but I am using my sponsored, not sponsored Zoku cup to have a Coca-Cola slush because I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling the exhaustion of watching, you know, New Japan. I couldn't do the whole thing.
Does
I
the
fell asleep.
slush machine, does it have sugar inherently?
You put whatever
Or do
you want in it.
and it
So
turns
I
into a
opened-
slush.
Yeah. So what happens is you take the little white cylinder thing in here.
Yeah.
Put it in the freezer, at least for about 8 hours. Bring it out, and they give you a nice little plastic cuppy thingy. Put it in. There's a little thing. You pour whatever in it, and then there is ice that forms on the sides. So all you have to do, like right now, I'm mixing it in and folding it, and I get nice little slush. See? Yeah.
I think I need to do that.
Yeah, you should. Zoku.com, or actually, I bought mine on Amazon. They have different sizes. Now that I mastered how to use it, I love it. I want the bigger one now. That's my next thing. Alcohol, I'm still trying to. You can put alcohol in here, but just remember, alcohol really doesn't freeze very well. So be careful and pick your poisons. I have put cider in here, and cider worked pretty well.
Yeah, but like, could you do primarily a juice that has a shot of vodka in it? It'll probably juice up most of it.
You could.
Because the other thing you could do is you could make the slush and then just pour the shot on top and mix that in once it's already slushy.
That's true. That is true.
But is the slush thin enough that it's going to melt when that happens, or is it thick enough that it's going to withhold?
Well, right now, this consistency that I have, it's a little thin. But if I wait a little bit, which I'm not going to do anything because now I had put more Coke in here. Yeah. This right now, how it looks, I'm not going to touch it for a little bit, and it's going to grow. So I'll show you in a few minutes.
That's cool.
It's like Mr. Wizard up in here. But flush.
Yeah. I'm having some red wine.
What kind of red
14 hands or 12 hands or 24 hands, a couple of eggs, someone's basket.
Green eggs and ham.
Green eggs and hands.
Oh my God.
Nice. You know, it's a very mellow night. Yeah. Oh, it sounds good. It looks good. I like that nice dark.
It's called 14 hands. That was my nickname in high school.
Oh boy.
I don't know what it means, but that was my nickname in high school for sure.
Oh boy, the things we learn on this show.
Yeah. Let's do birthdays. You should do some birthdays. Because there's a bunch of crazy weird shit that's happening already, and we should talk about it. So let's get birthdays.
So one person I do want to shout out because it is an inspiration to Brian Cage. You hear him commonly saying who better than Cage. His favorite wrestler was Chris Kanyon. So Chris Kanyon, happy birthday. That's cool. Jacqueline, happy birthday, girl.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones. Chavo Guerrero Sr., happy birthday. Bushwhacker Luke, happy birthday. Chris Masters, the Master Lock. We all remember him. Happy birthday. A lot of people that, even though the list is a little short right now for birthdays, let me go through a couple of them. Congratulations, new TMT two-time champion Darby Allin. That was his birthday gift, I guess, from Tony Khan, but we'll go into that later.
Was his birthday?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The legendary Bull Nakano. Happy birthday. I love him.
Wow.
Yeah.
What day?
Yeah.
What day exactly?
The 8th.
All right.
Bad Luck Fale. Dude, he's got a lot of great people that went through his dojo down in New Zealand. Like the Juicy Finau, Aaron Solo are two prominent names that I could say. So definitely, happy birthday, dude. And did you know, this is a bit of trivia for those who watch New Japan, the bunny that comes out with the Tokyo Pimp?
I'm not aware of the Tokyo Pimp or its bunny.
Okay. Well, she's a very sexy Japanese lady in a very sexy bunny outfit.
I've seen that pop up on my timeline.
Yes. That's his either fiance or wife. You go, Bad Luck Fale. That's all I'm gonna say. So you go, dude. Ruby Riott. Happy birthday.
Oh, that's good.
I fucking hate that storyline with those two women who can't wrestle. But anyways, enough said. Buff Bagwell. Happy sobriety. Happy birthday. One of my favorite women of WWE. Happy birthday to Mina. She's her birthday's on the 10th. Still one of my favorites. I think I really wish that she and Natty had a longer run.
I know. That was not having a longer title run for Tamina and Natalya was a real miss.
That was
I agree with that
horrible.
entirely.
That was a miss. Indie people, Abdullah the Butcher, happy birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
Another one who I personally huge got much mad respect for her, and a lot of other women do, is and I'll say rest in peace, of course, is the late and the great Luna Vachon. So tears in our beers, happy birthday.
Yep. Luna.
And until next time, that is it.
Well, cheers. Cheers for all the birthdays.
Cheers. Oh, and by the way, as you
and
can
JR.
kind of...
Did we say JR
Oh,
last
JR
week?
was... We said JR last week. He was the last one.
Yeah.
And I'm still, speaking of JR, I'm still a little curious. Do you think he's going to go back to the E? Because I hear that he's very upset about being on Rampage and not on Dynamite anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does return in a capacity to WWE. I would be shocked if it was much of a capacity. I don't think he's going to end up back on commentary. I don't think he's going to end up on screen. I don't think he's going to want to travel every single show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he wants to do the talent relation things anymore. Plus, Triple H is doing that. I mean, and at the end of the day, what do I know? Right? Nothing. It's going to be his decision, and whatever he decides is likely best for him. He's a smart guy. But for whatever it's worth, in my opinion, I could see him doing something a lot more Legends contracty or consultant or something that's a little less heavily involved. I could see that.
Yeah.
But I do think he wants to stay busy. The whole reason he went to AEW is because he didn't want to just sit at home.
Yeah, but now he's like kind of gotten demoted, because I know how a lot of people feel about Shivani being at the desk. Because Shivani doesn't contribute to anything.
Not at all.
No.
And I don't even mean that as a dig to Shivani. He just doesn't say anything that's valuable to the conversation.
No.
He says shit like, "Oh, would you look at that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Taz will say something and then he's just like, you know, and I'm like,
yeah.
But at least to say, for you, I've noticed you get a lot less of that kind of condescending Excalibur that you did not like at the beginning.
That's true.
All of this, so it's pretty much almost gone.
That's true. That's true. He just looks like a moron. But
well, you don't know what he looks like, so don't say he looks like a moron. We don't know what he.
His mask
like.
is stupid. He's got a stupid mask.
I know.
That's
and shout out to those going to Bola. I am not going this week. I'm a little sad that I don't get to see Takeshita. I'm also sad that that's going to be a brilliant match at AEW next week. Bryan Danielson versus Takeshita. I'm like, Jesus.
Wait, why aren't you going to go to Bola now?
Funds.
Oh.
Yeah. And they never released, again, even for the old regulars, they didn't release any GA. I don't want standing. I mean, I could steal a seat like some people do, but I'm that's not cool. That's bad karma.
So Vince McMahon put out a press release, sort of. I guess it was leaked by the Wall Street Journal. He emailed the board.
Whoa.
And he said he was going to be putting himself back into power. It is pretty weird.
The Wall Street Journal busted this open and not like a dirt sheet?
What a villain.
What?
Yeah, no, actual people who know what's going on. So in the article and in the press release stuff, Vince McMahon has told the WWE board, what's going on here? Kuro saying, definitely wish you guys did an Impact show. Bully and Scott's promo went way off script.
I'm sorry,
Scott?
Billy Ray.
Who's Scott?
D'Amore.
Scott D'Amore is on screen right now.
No.
Why? He's not going to get in the ring. What the fuck? We're just going to build some real heat for Bully to have a match with not Scott. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, I hear you. I don't have access TV. They don't make it easy. I don't want to pay for it.
Wow.
Let's see. Vince McMahon told the WWE board that unless he has direct involvement as executive chairman from the outset of a strategic review, he won't support or approve any media rights deal or company sale. So he's saying he's got to be put back in. He said, he also said this. Let me see. There's some other weird shit. He says, his return wouldn't affect WWE management. Vince said, WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duties, or responsibilities. I don't know. But it's crazy. He's more or less the vibe I got when I was reading it was that it had to do with like he wants to be there to facilitate a sale. I don't think that I get how he's got like the majority shares and the Class B shares and all that stuff makes sense. But what I don't understand is how like his reasoning is that communication's more or less simplified here. You can talk to one executive and know that decision's done. Like instead of a sale being done with a bunch of people weighing in on it, he can either just say yay or nay and walk away. I don't understand it. Like I was just trying to grasp the concept or the logic here. I feel like if he sells to another company as it stands, that all that does is ensure that the job placement currently of his family would be at a higher jeopardy. Right? Unless supposedly he could always say, I don't approve any sale unless that they're protected, but I don't see that. He's definitely not doing it for the money. It just seems really weird. I have to be in charge of everything so we can redo our TV deals. Like you can't do that from not the executive position. You know what I mean?
You can't do that behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz. Come on.
Yeah, you can't just, I mean, you have the controlling shares of stuff anyways. They probably have to communicate with you. Or you could even show up and say, hey guys, keep me in the loop on this or I'm going to do some weird shit, like put myself back in power.
Do you think if it goes up for sale, do you think he kind of in his own weird way thinks that Tony Khan's father is going to open up the wallet? So then he'll have ultimate control of every single thing? Do you think he fears that? I wonder.
I can't imagine that there would be a fear that AEW would buy WWE. They don't have that kind of money.
You don't know what the dude's dad has?
The company's worth a lot more than Vince is.
I know, but he could sell his football team. He could sell the footy team. He can get rid of everything because, like,
didn't fucking WhatsApp sell for $40 billion? You think WWE isn't worth more than WhatsApp? They can't just cash out on it. That's all I'm saying. I think it's just a little more complicated. I do see a lot of people being like, "Oh, Tony Khan's going to buy it," and I think that mostly people are joking about it, but the conversation's out there.
Market capital's $5.36 billion.
$5.36 billion.
Yes.
So $5 billion.
It's the market capitalization for
So just because that's your day value, right? That doesn't mean that's what you pay, right? So like WhatsApp was not worth $40 billion on the stock market when it sold because it was an even trade. The potential to make the money back is what you're buying, right? So even if you had $6 billion in your pocket, you couldn't just say, "I'll buy your company for $6 billion." Well, you hold that company for 2 years, you've made $10 billion. You know what I mean? So the idea is that like you pony up much more than its current value. So if it's worth $5 billion, you're probably paying $500 billion. You know what I mean? Like because this is a lifetime company.
Yeah.
It seems weird and I don't get it. And I don't get a lot of things that Vince has ever done. So maybe I'm not meant to get it. But yeah, it's
some big contractual thing. And we don't get that. So.
Yeah. I don't understand contracts. But it's neat. And it's definitely fucking nuts. And I guess that thing came out on the 31st too. So it's like, dude, just enjoy New Year's Eve, man. Just relax. Do it later. Like,
yeah.
But
I thought at least if he was going to pull a move like this, I would have at least waited. I would have thought he would have waited till after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. And I don't know. I wonder if it really would impact the show in some way. I wonder if it really would shift what happened. Like, would he really honestly take a creative role again like he did? Or he'd say, like, no, all that's fine. It's doing what it's doing. I'm just here because I strictly
Yeah.
want to. Basically, that's what Nick Khan, I thought, was for. People to do these
Yeah,
type
well,
of builds.
who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Slushy alert. See how it's gotten a little fuller?
Yeah. It's doing its thing.
And it's getting more of the thickness. So
yeah, vodka would be great in that.
Yeah. Speaking of thickness, anyways.
Yeah. Unless he has direct involvement as executive chairman, he won't approve any sale or media rights. I don't get it. I don't get it. We'll see what happens. I think a lot of people are panicking. I think what it means is Vince is definitely going to be in the Royal Rumble and probably win it.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything else to say on it. Just it's fucking crazy, and we have to watch it and see what's going to happen with it because there's no way to call it.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just me, but yeah. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh no! What is this? Oh wait, are you giving him? Are you trying to give him like a handlebar mustache?
Yeah, he's got a mustache now. I've combed him into a mustache, and look at if I point his butt towards the mic.
Oh, God.
Now it's like the puppet's farting into the mic. It's great.
Producer lady, you gotta stop this, man. I thought we were a classy show. No, I'm not saying protect me. I thought we were a classy outfit here.
We are classy.
Or is it
we put the assy in classy.
Or the gassy in classy. Ish. Whatever.
No
the G is silent. But whatever. I don't know. No. Or is it just because you can't do that on your other shows? Because God forbid you do that with a resi. You bring up a green puppet that farts in the mic.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
No,
it'd be a nice transition spot. If it's like, oh, let's bring on our guest, and then you just see a puppet and a fart, and then he goes, here's McFoley. And you go, oh shit.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure Medusa would not like that either, dude.
No.
See? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I think she got a kick out of the puppet, but I don't know if she wants it farting. I mean, that's all.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. You know. The puppet's cool. But
let's see.
Not farting.
Other stuff though. WrestleKingdom took place. It was big. We asked you for the stuff so we could watch it. I saw bits and pieces. Obviously, I saw all of the Mercedes stuff, but you saw the whole show. Let's talk about it.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw Suzuki being a badass. That was cool.
Oh, he was total badass. That was like the old farts match, as I called it. You know, all these older guys and Suzuki in there just fucking.
And the original Tiger Mask. How cool.
I know, right? That was like a shocker. I'm like, holy shit, the original Tiger Mask and whatnot. And I thought that it was just really kind of cool. Good tribute to Inoki. And it was weird not seeing his normal entrance. But you know, is what it is. But it'll be interesting to see where what happens and where he ends up. I know I was telling you, there was the Rambo, which I didn't watch last night because honestly, it was too stormy and it kept freezing. So I didn't really get to watch the New Year event. So that the Rambo is they took the top 4 people and they get a title match of some sort, I believe. So yeah, but I had to laugh because of course, fucking Yano, he kind of cheated his way to it. He faked being thrown to the floor and didn't crawl in until the last minute. Gotta love Toru Yano for that. So, yeah, so that was a very interesting one because it was very interesting to me that who got eliminated very quickly. Because the minute I blinked, Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols were already out. I'm like, what the hell? Jeff Cobb wasn't even in there for it felt like 3 minutes and he was gone. So it was a really interesting thing. I don't know if Rambo means like Rumble in Japanese, I'm assuming, but then again, I don't know. But if you know Japanese and if that's what Rambo means is Rumble, excellent. So we'll go there with that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the highlights. Let's talk about that. The match, the Kari Sane match, I will say, I thought it was a very, very excellent match.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's such a stark contrast to see that kind of women's match, the bullshit that happens on AEW, and then, with NXT. So it's really kind of cool to see all these different women's matches. And, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. But then when it got dark.
Yeah. Real quick, Kiro does ask, did you guys see New Year's Dash? Do you know what New Year's Dash is?
No. That was the next night. No, I did not get to.
What is it? Is it on JPW?
It's usually WrestleKingdom is a 2-nighter thing. You have the WrestleKingdom and then you have New Year's Dash.
Well, then they said the second night of WrestleKingdom is supposed to be like the 15th or 20 something or 21st, I think.
Yeah, no, that's weird. But no. But usually when they do WrestleKingdom, then the next thing is New Year's Dash the next night.
Was Jay White on New Year's Dash or in WrestleKingdom? Because he says Jay White lost a loser leaves Japan match.
Did they do that on Dash? Because he Okada, which I expected, beat him. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. That was I kind of figured that was going to happen because
Do you think Jay White shows up in WWE or AEW? He clearly could go to AEW, no problem, right?
I with Jay White though, I don't know. I think he's better off in WWE.
Yeah, it'd be cool if he pops up in
only
WWE.
Because he's bigger than that. Like,
I never felt like he was treated great in AEW. His appearances in AEW always seemed like less than, and they didn't have to. Yeah,
exactly. That's how it kind of felt. Now, in the previous Ring of Honor ownership, he had a lot of respect. But you also have to remember, too, that's where he did his excursion before he went back to New Japan. So there's always a lot of respect there. But, again, Tony Khan doesn't know what to do with people. So, as much as it would be fantastic to see him versus a lot of different people on the roster, that's not where I would go.
Yeah.
He would flourish a lot more in WWE.
I think so. We'll see.
Definitely.
We'll see what happens. But because the other thing is, I think that if he was going to AEW, he wouldn't have to lose a loser leaves Japan match first. He could show up in AEW and then finish up his NJPW because they work together enough.
Well, no, it would be more of if he's leaving Japan, he's not wrestling in Japan anymore. You would think it would be more literal like that.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I mean, he could be heading up, as they're gearing a lot more into like New Japan Strong and stuff. That could be it, where he's going to be stateside.
Yeah.
And really developing it that way. It could be. I don't know. I don't know what his contract status is.
Yeah.
But I thought he had signed a long-term contract a while back. But I could be wrong.
That's true, because NJPW Strong is American-based, and leaves Japan doesn't necessarily mean leaves New Japan.
They need a star. I mean, you've got some, good people over there, but you need a marquee, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Lio Rush and Show, they're such a great tag team.
Yeah.
I loved watching that match. I mean, it was phenomenal. I think this is my favorite coming out of retirement era of Lio Rush. Yeah. I think this has been the best time for him. So,
I was surprised to see his name on there just because I didn't see it posted somewhere else when I pulled up the card like the day of or the day before, and I saw his name there. I was like, oh, shit.
Well, him and Show won the Super Juniors tag league.
Yeah.
So deservedly so. So I think that was a really it really showed me that they were a great tag team. I also really cannot stand TJP. I was hoping they'd lose, but no. Him looking like dude from Fall Out Boy. I'm like, no. Yeah. Next, let's get this match over with so we can see the ladies.
Yeah.
That's what I kept sitting there and saying that.
So we did get the ladies. Kairi Sane had a banger match with Tam Nakano, right? Is that her name?
Tam
Tam
Nakano.
Nakano.
It's a wonderful
And
match.
followed up by Mercedes Moné coming out.
Okay, I thought it was Monet,
It's definitely not.
and the only reason why I thought that, and she was saying Monet, was I thought she was really nervous because that's a big. Even though this was not your traditional size Tokyo Dome show, it was probably about half.
Yeah.
Because when Kevin Kelly said, "Oh, 25,000," I'm like, "What?" Usually that's like 40, 50,000 people at the Tokyo Dome.
I thought there were 40,000 in there, 60,000. I
No,
thought there was
Kevin
a lot.
Kelly had said 25.
Wow.
It was either him or Juicy Gambino, but I think it was Kevin Kelly who said that.
Interesting. Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah. But it's not spelled like Monet. I mean, it's spelled like Monet because of, the way that the accent is. And but yeah, the idea is that her last name is Money without being money. It's clever. It's Monet. And yeah, it's the whole thing.
And she's the CEO now and not the boss.
CEO, not the boss. That's so funny.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I'm like,
but a lot of the rest of it was the same. Her rings were dollar signs and then Monet on the other one, which was cool. I liked her hair. A lot of people gave her flack for it. What do you think of her hair?
What was it supposed to be? I'm confused by her hair.
So the hair was flames in the front going towards the back. The reason I liked it is because being passionate about art, I thought of it as symbolism. It looked like the blue, which was all there. That's the last time we saw her was the blue, was all being burned away. And you're getting like second life, like a phoenix.
Okay.
Does it look like it was burning out the blue? So I wonder if the next time we see her, it's not even the flames with the blue, it's something else. Or maybe she keeps it this way and she's consistently going through a rebirth. Like this feels like a part 2. You know what I mean?
Well, I was confused. I was like, this is horrible leopard print is the first.
I thought it was leopard print at first too. I was like, this is really weird leopard print. And then I caught the side and I went, oh.
And then the next thing was, oh, it's a puzzle. It's puzzle pieces. Well, I'm wrong if it was flame. But I was like, oh yeah, we're solving puzzles here. I don't know. But yeah. Obviously I was wrong.
Kiro says total count was 27,862. That's crazy.
But still a very light Tokyo Dome attendance. Very, very light. Because I thought it was odd when you saw the footage of, like, you'd see like the one cam they had and you saw the stage, the entrance, and how many seats that weren't on the floor. And I was also shocked how close a lot of gaijin were, because typically you don't see gaijin up as close as they were. Like I had a couple of friends that went, and I'm like, what the hell? You guys got like close, because usually gaijin that you're back a couple of sections when it comes to the floor. So I thought that was interesting too. Yeah,
it was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
She came out, and there's something that there's a lot I don't know about Japan.
Okay,
but I was always under the impression that it meant a lot when AJ and the Good Brothers and such like earned the kanji. I thought that there was like a process of winning respect before you put Japanese kanji on your gear. And I thought that I could have sworn I'd heard something somewhere with AJ talking about that and what it meant. Like that it meant a lot when they had accepted him and he was able to do that. And I thought that's why he still puts Japanese on his gear nowadays, is because he did earn it. And it's part of who he is, kind of a deal. It wasn't just all like, oh yeah, I did some time in Japan. It was, I was accepted by Japan. But she came out with a robe that had a Japanese flag for a belt, Japanese kanji on the back, and her armband was also a Japanese flag, and all of her gear was red and white like the Japanese flag. And I was just a little confused and thought that might be disrespectful. It might not. I don't know. Maybe it's a heel thing. Maybe you're just getting some heat. Or maybe you're thinking of it in a way of like, well, wouldn't it be cute if I just did like an all Japanese thing because I'm in Japan? So I don't know. And I'm not smart enough to know, and I'm not as involved in their culture enough to know, but I could have sworn I had heard something about that one. So when I first saw it, I went, oh, that's kind of weird. Outside of that, I really liked the music. I liked the video package. I thought she came out there with a bunch of confidence. I liked the moment in and of itself. It was a pretty big deal for her to come out there. I don't think an American woman has been in the Tokyo Dome since Medusa in the 80s.
Yeah.
Definitely not in the ring. And I think that's a big thing. That's a big moment. That's a big hurdle to get through. So I did like all of that aspect of it. Well, what was your take?
Well, I think that the kanji and the Japanese flag and all of that, I thought she was doing it to be more insulting than anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know the history about that with the kanji. I think it's different interpretations on things, but I think it was more of a disrespect or a you're gonna respect me, and that was forced on. So, but I don't know. I also thought it was great because if she's gonna have world domination, her outfit also would be appropriate for Canada. Because it kind of was like, Olympics, have the Canadian flag, whatever. Because it seems like that's what she's trying to do. I guess I don't know, but it was very interesting. But when I did see the kanji on the back of her jacket, I was like, "Are you trying to make a point?" And I thought that was probably what it was.
And I know I didn't watch the whole show, so I asked you about it. The crowd seemed a little more quiet than I expected, and I think more quiet than she expected.
Yeah, because I think it had to do with the smaller crowd. The smaller crowd.
Do you think it was a smaller crowd? Because here's the other thing: is I went back and I was watching where Zack Sabre Jr. won that one title, and at the end, those two dudes come in and they hand him a shirt. That was kind of noisy. When those two dudes walked into the ring, there was a lot of murmuring and stuff going on in the crowd.
Because they didn't. Well, it was, as Kevin Kelly said, the worst kept secret. But I think it was more of, why would you do that? It was very confusing. It was one of my friends, Dominique and Tony, were there in Japan. And she had said that a lot of the Japanese, it's very interesting because there were certain things that they were impressed. They were impressed that Zack Sabre Jr. was speaking in Japanese at one point. They were impressed with it's just weird things. Like, she was shocked that they got behind Ocean Spray so hard, but we'll talk about that later. So I think they might have been kind of confused on what was going on and why is this happening.
Yeah.
Because it seems so grand for something that was blah.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it connected.
No, I don't think it did.
I think it was a bigger moment for Americans than it was for New Japan, which is a little interesting to watch in its own way,
Which, when you go and talk about when Shane Hates and Maggie Nichols came out, there's a lot of history between the three of those guys. Going back into when they were with Noah. So obviously the Japanese know that, and that's probably why they went nuts, because also too, they just lost the big dog of that group with Bronson Reed going back. So it's a nice thing to see this because I've always loved TMDK. Always been a TMDK person. Because I always liked the two of them as a tag team. And then, of course, seeing with Jonah Rock and, and other people. Big Bad Tito from the States as part of that stable. It's a very small stable, but it's interesting to see that if you heard when they came out and they were talking when they were there, it's like, oh, you want me to be the leader? Like, you guys don't have a leader. You want me to be the leader, or whatever. And it was a really kind of cool banter, even in the backstage interviews. It was great. And these guys, they cut it in all three of them at the same time were really cutting it in Japan. So, it was kind of cool and sentimental if you understood that and you knew the history behind it. For me, it was like, oh, I'm like, who's missing? Other people who were around in Noah around that time. So your Chris Heroes, obviously Cabana, Eddie Edwards, those kinds of people who were around that era. And so it was kind of cool and sentimental. But I will say this, I really that title actually is very interesting because I did not know going into this that this new New Japan World like TV title thing is a 15-minute match. So if there's no decision, it ends up they'll come back and do it another time. Not like immediately like the next show or something. It just you wait, there's a waiting line and we'll get back to you on it, which I thought was kind of cool. It was interesting to see Ren Narita really kind of grow into his own in the last like few years from when he was a young lion to now. I mean, it was really cool to see it. It was really cool to see a lot of them, like Shooter. That was great to see him carrying Mox's Death Rider's jacket to the ring. I thought that was cool. So it was a really cool thing. And then I sat there and was like staring at Zack Sabre Jr. and trying to think to myself, when did he become Zack Sabre Jr.? I mean, he had a belly that was rolling over his trunks. I'd never seen that. Like, Zach always looked like he needed to eat 2 sandwiches, and like, you don't need to exercise, bro. But like, my friend took this picture, and when he was doing his entrance, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, he's got like 6 eyes and an ass. Where did this come from? I was shocked. I'm like, last time I saw Zack Sabre Jr. live was pre-pandemic, and it's been about almost 5 years. And I'm like, what the hell? Notice photo behind me. Love him, and I'm glad he finally got a singles title. So look at that for the Techers. Way to go. And I think that it was great to see that. But what I loved about the match was pure Japanese strong style. That was like pure British tech submission. That match was like that was an Amanda type of match because it was like, all the feels. And I don't know what they're doing with this title. If it means that he's going to be in the States, I will hope so, because I love seeing Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle. If you have it in person, you're missing out on life. But I, huge fan. So that was a very great match. It did at first, WrestleKingdom felt it like it went very quickly. And then I sat back for a moment, like, yeah, it's we all know going into it, it's a 6-7 hour show. Yeah, and AEW has that all the time, but they don't do it in the, when we have it in the middle of the night, it just feels like sometimes, it's going on and on and on. But this time it went very rapid. I thought the next thing I know, I blinked, and then the Carl Anderson Tama Tonga match was over, and then same with FTR. And it was very interesting that I like blinked and these things were done. Yeah, that was my takeaway with that. And also, if you guys haven't seen it, it's really fun to watch the backstage interviews and stuff. So anytime you see someone who retains a title, wins a title, there's always like an alcohol sponsor of sorts. So you see a lot of alcohol there. So it was really kind of funny to see. It's funny to see TMDK, all the 3 of them, like just drinking, and it was kind of funny. And then even seeing them do a cheers with Carl Anderson and stuff. That was a very kind of bittersweet little moment with that, because they were 2 of the original 4 in that Bullet Club. So yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool to have that moment. And then of course I kind of knew that Hiromu was going to be the the junior heavyweight champion. Again, I kind of had a feeling Ishimori had a really great run. Who else was there? Really didn't. For me, LIJ was just kind of like, that's kind of your like throwaway match. I mean, I really kind of miss seeing like Naito, in these more, serious singles matches, or even, getting toward that main event. So that was kind of like for me. But I feel like I'm missing something before I go on to
The FTR.
Oh yeah. No, that's right. You know, I you called it on episode 1 about them dropping.
No.
Yeah. What's
they're
your
losing
take
that.
on it?
I
going-
wonder what their future is. It does seem a little peculiar that they're dropping all the titles. That I think that it would be really strange for if the plan was for them to actually go to WWE. I feel like that's a little more less likely because he started the podcast. And if Dax was about to go back to WWE, he wouldn't start a podcast right away because he'd have to drop it as soon as he gets there. Unless he was just dropping the podcast to just sue over some shit before he leaves. But I think ultimately they're staying. I just don't know what's going to end up happening. And I really wonder what they're going to do. Maybe they go strictly to Ring of Honor. I don't know. I don't know that they have a lot going on, but I don't see why they'd go to WWE now if he just started the podcast. That was the biggest curveball to me. Everything else was like, oh, they might go back. And then the podcast is all like, I don't see them going back. But at the same time, it's a big podcast network, ad-free shows. They could always say, hey, yeah, we'll do like 5 or 6 episodes. You'll go back. We'll drop that one too and do the next one. And then at least there's a little bit out there,
Mhm.
But
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird.
They don't have any of the titles now.
No, but if they go to Ring of Honor, I don't want to see like them versus the Briscoe like 25.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great matches, don't get me wrong, but
Do you think that they would be willing to or would need to leave AEW and just do other indie stuff, do like Impact and shit? Like, I don't see why you would. They're also Triple H guys.
Yeah, see, that's where it's like, okay, you're Triple H guys. And then now with this curveball with Vince,
Yeah, Vince coming back.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't see them at Impact. And it's weird because I thought that maybe they would end up at one point or another at PWG.
Yeah.
And would have had that title with everything else. But we never saw that. So I don't know. It's just very, very weird. I think that with Dax being very, very vocal lately about Punk and Cabana, especially Cabana, I'm like, don't pick on him. Come on now. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting because if you really think back on it, the Bucks are really the ones that really championed to get them over there. So, yeah.
I guess. But I mean, I don't know. And I guess there's always that theory the Bucks wanted them there just to be able to prove that they're better than FTR by like doing what they do. And I don't know.
Yeah, but the Bucks hadn't had all those titles like that all at once.
Well, and they also haven't had matches as good as that.
True.
But
But for them to go into a program now about the ass boys, that's dumb.
I don't get that part. Yeah. Kira says I could see FTR going to Impact, take the Impact titles from the current Impact Tag Champs. Of course you could, Kira. You're obsessed with Impact.
Well, who are the tag champs right now, Kira?
No one fucking knows who the tag champs are right now, but
Kira knows.
Yeah, he's the only one who
Kira
knows.
I know who the women's one are.
He also said that Bronson Reed implied on Twitter after the one match that he wants to keep doing TMDK stuff in WWE and said, but he removed that tweet right after. I didn't see the tweet, so I don't know.
I didn't either. But, They're all there at one point.
Yeah.
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 But that Zach loves being in Japan. I mean, the guy moved there. He basically said, "Bye, England, but I'll still talk shit about your politics." Shout out to him, saying that nurses in the UK need a living wage. You go, dude. You go.
Yeah, makes sense. That sounds
He's
sounds like a
That's
reasonable request.
Yeah. What was
Yeah,
next?
I don't know about a bunch of other stuff on there. I just know a couple of the big ones.
Mhm.
But then it's the
Let's
only one
talk
I
about-
know.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
skip the one and go to the second main event, which was Okada and Jay White. Just to go back to it,
Yeah.
Okada, we all know that is the John Cena of New Japan. Motor City. Oh no, that would be a good match.
That would
But
be a
I
good
think
match.
Motor City would be more. I think it would be more symbolic of anything if it were a Ring of Honor thing, and they should have done that when they were in Ring of Honor with the belts. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, no, sorry.
Oh.
Wrong part of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I love doing that. It's great. Anyways, but I don't know, Jay White, that's going to be interesting what happens. So I like Jay White. So, the Switchblade era, where's it going? Who knows?
I dug the Carl Anderson Thomas stuff too, and him dropping the title I think was a little expected, but this was a cool way to do it.
Yeah, that was it was a great way to do it. I'm a little sad that Gallows wasn't there. That would have been a nice.
Yeah, I was expecting to see him there. I get why AJ wasn't. He just broke his ankle.
Yeah.
But I did think that was a bummer because you and I, we talked about the possible cool shots you could do with AJ around with all those other guys,
Yeah, we're not expecting to see Balor there.
Yeah, but at the same time, some of those like Bailey and Naomi were backstage for Mercedes. I feel like that it's not impossible to think there could have been some people there we just didn't see. You know what I mean? Who didn't post it to social media immediately.
Yeah, could be.
It was cool though to see the picture of as they called themselves, She-Vival, where it was FTR with Sasha and Bailey. It was cool to see them all four back together again.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. That was really cool one. And then the Zack Sabre Jr. photo with him and Naomi and Monet.
Yeah.
Money. I gotta get that. Doesn't roll off the tongue here as much. Money. So let's talk about the one match that I know people are probably saying somewhere. If you watched it, I'm hoping that everybody or people who know of my extreme hatred.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna skip it. I was positive you weren't gonna watch it.
No. Well, I was curious because Billy Goat, he kind of, I don't know. When I saw the press conference, it made me want to watch it even more because he was so angry and so fired up, dropping F-bombs here and there, right? Acting like a child, like we know he is. And I've stood toe-to-toe with that guy. He's got no cojones. But anyways, you go, Kenny Omega. But anyways, the first thing that stood out to me was, why don't we get New Japan Kenny Omega at AEW? That was the number one. Cutting his promos.
I saw people say that on my timeline too. I saw people going like NJPW Kenny hits way different than AEW Kenny. I saw someone else say, why is it always a different Kenny in NJPW than AEW? I saw another one that said Kenny feels like such a bigger deal in NJPW than in AEW. So the mentality is not isolated to you. For sure. Yeah. That was Klump's big argument. That's why Klump stopped watching AEW, because Kenny and the Bucks were not Kenny and the Bucks that he liked. He missed the Kenny and Bucks from Japan.
even Don Callis, let's go there. Okay,
Mhm.
when you're watching the AEW version of Don Callis, okay, with this, it's great because he serves a purpose and he's not this like crazy fuckhead that people are, who the hell is this, and not knowing. I'm not trying to say that the fan base of AEW is not sophisticated in wrestling, or maybe I am trying to say this. I don't know. But with Kenny, I think is, I don't know if it's the caliber of who they're wrestling. I don't know if it has to do with that, or if it's just, I don't know, something about the air there. I don't know. And it's very, there's a lot of things that came out of this. But with Kenny, it totally was like, dude, like, I love that Kenny Omega. Okay. Because that Kenny Omega, it was all business. So when you see this trios bullshit, it's like, I feel duped, because it's like, this is not, when I think of the elite, I don't think of this elite that we see on AEW. No, I think of the original, when they started doing BTE back in the day, those feels, because it was different. And I'm not saying to knock anybody on that roster, but I will say, yes, they do get good matches with the Lucha Brothers and Pac. But when you look at other people on the roster, it's like, no. I just have to shake my head with that. It's like, no, you can't compare. And we all know my disdain of Ocean Spray. This, I will say, not because of the extreme, I don't know what's a good word to say it without being like cackling, but of the extreme decimation of Ocean Spray. It reminded me of my favorite match ever. So now I'm torn between the two. But it was very interesting to me that if you really watched it, at least on the Ocean Spray side, he was like, I'm bringing the assassin back. Well, you know what? The assassin got his ass handed to him. You know, he's not as flippy floppy. And let's face it, he did go away from the assassin because when he went to heavyweight, he couldn't do all the moves set. He still can't. It looks sloppy. Whereas Dick Saber Jr., but I'm just anyways. So I feel like when watching it, when you saw their whole the United Empire faction walk him out, like first of all, the Kenny entrance, it was great to see Kenny. And as I like to call him, hair extensions Kenny is like a totally different Kenny. It's like, it seems like when he gets the extensions in, they must wire his brain. They must be really tight on his head because it wires his brain a different way. And that's what I think everyone who really at the beginning of AEW wanted to see and expected. And when we got this bullshit with him coming out with women sweeping the floor on his entrance, that was just like, no, this is no, this isn't not that good.
The fact that they make like weird quote callbacks to him being the cleaner and he's not just the cleaner is the problem. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh look, he's got a broom, because remember he used to be the cleaner. Well, everyone wanted the cleaner here. They wanted him now. They don't want not the cleaner.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just weird. It was a weird decision for them to make, and so it is cool to see that so many Kenny fans so happy with this
Yeah.
match.
I have a friend of mine who was like, they kind of wish that the Bucks were there walking him out with having Callis on commentary, yes, but walking out with the Bucks like he used to do. That would have been nice. But I get it. You know, it's more about Kenny than whatever.
It is. I don't think the Young Bucks are particularly happy with NJPW or wanting to work with them. I think there's a reason they're one of the only people who've never showed back up there again. Is their ego didn't serve them well there, from my understanding. That they believed they were the main event.
They had a lot of they had to go through a lot of shit. And I think that they were insulted that when it came down to it, they really didn't value them at the end of the day.
Yeah, because I mean,
But I get it.
because they felt like they did everything they needed to do to earn their respect and their value.
Mhm.
But the people who make that judgment call on if you are respected or valued didn't feel like they earned it. So it's
Mhm.
really frustrating for sure to be all like, we did everything we could and we earned that spot. But realistically, when the fans say, no, you didn't, you just were here a bunch and did a bunch of shit that we didn't care about. Like, that's a different thing. Not their own fans, like local fans. The company didn't see their value at all because
No, it's the
they
company.
didn't hold much of a value there. And it's not like when they left, suddenly there was an issue with them being able to, with New Japan being able to book tag teams or something. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they weren't on the show and the fans were like, fine. You know, like
Well, they didn't get the acclimates that a lot of these other ones were. And I think it's because they weren't there full time. They didn't commit like a Tamatonga and Tongaloa. A lot of those tag teams, like they didn't commit to being there. And I think that really kind of hurt them in a way because you would see how with like Evil and Sonata, how like with them, I mean, people loved them. People loved fucking, KES. People loved all of these, different tag teams. And that's why I think again, you got a bigger reception for TMDK than you saw with freaking Mercedes money, whatever.
money. Yeah.
Money. That sounds like a frog in your throat. But anyway. So I also thought that watching the United Empire, there was one person who stood out to me that just was like not interested. Now it's Jeff Cobb. He kind of was in the back,
Oh yeah.
not getting
He's just like, fuck it.
involved. And I said this on episode 1. I would love to see him overtake the throne of that faction. And I think it's going to happen because if you watch the interview and how, oh, little Billy Goat cried. I laughed the whole time. Oh, he doesn't want to do this anymore. Put so much pressure on himself. He's giving it one more year. Dude, just fucking go home now. Okay. You're a bad actor. Okay. It was all no selling and whatnot. And I love how Kenny matches his no sell. Like, fucker, don't no sell me. I'll no sell you. It was the best. And I think that with him, all the blood, he's in there just, oh, yeah. And like, you're one of these people like Phil. You deserve what you get. And I'm not saying that, in a whatever way. My thing is, it's a little melodramatic, your story, because, you got the respect of the Japanese because Kenny is so strong. They remember those 60-minute matches. You only went 40. How can you be the GOAT when you're in Okada's shadow there? You're in a lot of people's shadow.
Yeah, if a bar was
So-
set, you have to at least get that same bar. You can't
Yeah, and
you
he
can't
wasn't
achieve the
taking-
same heights without hitting the same bars.
No, he got his ass handed to him. The majority of that match was all Kenny and just beating the shit out of him and enjoying it. And I enjoyed every second of that part. But again, it reminded me again of my favorite match of New Japan, Sakura Genesis, Osprey and Marty Skrull. And that match when Marty was brutal. Not as brutal as Kenny, obviously, because that's a different thing. But remember, the guy was knocked the fuck out at least for a minute.
Do you
and
think
no X.
you think
Same thing happened
AEW? Do you think Osprey would go to AEW?
Fuck no. Oh my god, fuck no. If he
'Cause he
does, I
wasn't-
will never watch that product again. I don't care who's there. Never.
That's not the question. No, I don't
I
give
know.
a shit if you would watch it. I'm saying, do you think
Well,
they
I'm
want
just
him?
saying that that's a shitty thing to do. God, then that would tell me Tony Khan likes problematic people. But
True.
no, I don't think so.
He does have a history of bad shit in the back. So,
Yep, he sure does, and that's another bad shit right there. Why do you think his old lady, She was there. She was signed to AEW. Why do you think she disappeared?
Yeah.
Not COVID. That COVID helped get rid of her.
Do you think if WWE took the old lady, do you think they would take him?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine Ospreay in NXT?
Yeah, he needs that work.
Yeah, he definitely can't just show up on the main roster. He does not
Oh hell no.
behave or perform in a way that I think would fit on the main roster very well without going through NXT. He'd have to go through NXT, I think.
Mm-hmm. And he needs a lot of work because when you look at Ricochet, those were the rivals then. When you look at Ricochet, you're like, Ricochet is at 20 different levels, and if it has improved since those times together. When you look at Ocean Spray, his ego made him stagnant.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to do. And also, you need to do a promo where you don't sound like you have marbles in your mouth.
Yeah, well, you can do that later. They bring in people who can promo all the time.
But I think that he's probably better suited for WWE. It would take some work though, but I think that he could be. Yeah. I mean, Dragon Lee, that's kind of a shocker. But I don't think Dragon Lee, that experiment's going to go too well.
Yeah.
At all. See. Yeah, well, we'll see. Time will tell, but I think that's when you're, like I said, episode 1, that's when Axiom's going to get the mask taken off him and being a kid again.
I always thought A-Kid was a terrible name.
A-Kid is a terrible name.
But I don't think that Axiom's the worst name. It's just that the whole video game thing and the mask thing doesn't quite connect with me. So,
yeah, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know. But yeah, is it Kid A? Reminds me of album? I don't know. That's where I think.
Oh, could be. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, the Axiom gimmick kind of reminds me of that THQ character in the WCW video games. It was just this random little robot guy who did a bunch of crazy shit. You go, oh, okay. But yeah, so overall, you really liked Ospreay's match there with Kenny. So that's pretty good.
I think it was more of the brutal thing, but it was more the fact that we got the different Kenny, and what it has spawned from it was him and Kota Ibushi on Twitter going back and forth. So hopefully we might get Golden Lovers at some point. And if we do get Golden Lovers, it would be AEW, and I would hope that New Japan Kenny would be there, so it would feel good. Yeah, I would love to see Golden Lovers versus FTR. That'd be a nice one. I love Kota Ibushi. He's like a living. Yeah. This is gonna sound crude, but he reminds me of one of those living dolls.
Yeah.
He reminds me of that, where he's so pretty that it's like he's not real, right? And the way his body just kind of sometimes when gets kind of thrown around, it's kind of sometimes it's very limpy, noodly. So yeah, but I can't wait for that. I love Kota Ibushi.
Yeah. Was there anything else about WrestleKingdom you want to throw out there?
Nope.
I don't want to downplay too much of NXT, but I will say that NXT was pretty much average NXT. The matches you thought would be good were good. The segments, I was surprised. Toxic Attraction, their promo segment surprised me. I thought JC did much better than Gigi for some reason, which was a switch.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there was nothing that really stood out to me. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire was dope. But the rest of it was kind of like a bunch of what you'd expect to see, and that kind of was it. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't amazing. It just those were the two standout things to me. So if you want, we could talk AEW because there was a lot on AEW. I thought.
Yeah, well, I did want to say this with NXT. I feel like week after week, I'm kind of falling out of it, and it's Booker. It's his commentary that it. Almost like I don't have a reason. Him and Vic don't give me a reason to, if I'm watching, if I'm working and having it in the background or something, they don't give me a reason to want to turn my head to look. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah. I also think that I was expecting better, I think, for the Dijak rebrand than what I'm getting. It's not clicking with me, but I'm hoping that just kind of finds its way or something because it's.
But look at Apollo, how long it's taken for him down there to be interesting.
Yeah.
Very slow.
Well, let's talk AEWs. So it was this whole new year, new me vibe over there. We all know that Mike Mansouri took over production down there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know.
Long time second hand to Kevin Dunn. The only reason he left WWE was because I believe he said it on his podcast was Kevin Dunn's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
It wasn't for the foreseeable future. He's like, did he want to? It wasn't like he was working towards being the guy next in line. He just was for a number of years the guy next in line. He was as accomplished as he could get in his role without taking over for Kevin Dunn. So Kevin Dunn would have to leave for Mike Mansouri to pop in, and it didn't look like that was going to happen. So it was like, well, I don't want to just stay stagnant for another 10 years was his thought. So he left. So AEW brought him in.
Yeah, and I thought it was good the way everything seemed a little different, which is nice because Tony needed that.
It was very different. I don't know if I think it's good or bad yet, and I don't mean that in a negative way because I thought it looked really good. But it felt really weird because it looked very WWE.
Now,
and that was weird because they used the same color schemes. Their entrance looked a lot like SmackDown 2017, kind of mixed with NXT 2.0. They got rid of a lot of the things that were identifiably different about AEW and made it identifiably similar to WWE. And that was just, it was kind of trippy. There was moments I'm watching stuff and I'm seeing like those LED banners that say Dynamite go behind just the way that WWE's been doing for years in all the arenas the AEW never did. And it's all this bright blue and bright red. Their replays had these big red blue lines with the thing. It looked like I was watching Survivor Series during the brands versus brand matches. And it was all done very, very well, but it was kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know if that's a bad thing necessarily. There was just a while I was watching and I was like, this is very WWE. Jeff Jarrett's entrance stood out to me as his Tron graphics were completely updated and changed. I mean, everything was, but like all the motion, the light, the lighting, the camera work, the color schemes.
That was the first thing I noticed.
Yep. All the camera angles were way different all of a sudden. The video packages, that video package for Samoa Joe where he was talking shit on Darby.
You know who that is?
That's Mansouri.
Guess who's working full time for AEW?
You can say Giancarlo all you want.
No, it is.
I'm saying you can say that all you want. Giancarlo is taking direction from Mike Mansouri.
Oh,
Giancarlo was not going to make that on his own.
No. You know he's taking that direction. And I think it's because they work well together. Giancarlo was at WWE, they worked well together.
Yes.
But the Giancarlo production, I think that sold the deal is he did the Hobbs stuff.
I don't know how much of Mike had to do with that too. I'm just saying that like Giancarlo's been there longer than Mike Mansouri.
But he wasn't working in the full-time capacity.
But he was doing video packages for them.
Here and there, yes.
Yes. And none of them ever looked or felt like this.
I know.
Which means that Mike Mansouri came in and put his thumbprint on it. Because he knows what Giancarlo can do. Right? They worked a bunch together. So what I'm saying is, regardless of who's clicking the mouse and making the edits,
you know that's where it's coming through. And this was the thing that Tony and his production of AEW lacked.
They lacked it and looked Bush League without it, but now they're looking a little bit too close almost. Like that video package was awesome and I loved it. I thought this was so good, but it felt really weird because what it does, Bishop's talked about this on his own podcast, that You're either going to be better than, less than, or different than. And if you're not identifiably different than, then people are going to judge you on being better than or worse than.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So since they're not looking that different anymore, now the WWE comparisons, which they've already had an issue with people doing, are just going to get heavier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, I thought it looked great, but there was a weirdness to it where I was kind of like, oh, people are going to have to compare them to WWE, and I don't know if that's best for them. Might be.
It might
But you always wanted to be the alternative and different. You don't want to watch one and then the other one and go, oh, is this another WWE show? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But remember, that's why AEW was created, because they wanted to be the alternative.
Yes, but if you look too much like the original, are you the alternative?
Mm-hmm. Or is this an experiment for Tony's father to come give him a bunch of money to buy WWE?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine Tony's all like, oh, I heard WWE's going for sale. Let's show that we can do production like WWE. We just haven't wanted to. Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? That's a cheeky thing.
Yeah. But it was cool. That video package with Joe was awesome. The camera angles, the backstage interviews, all of it. So WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that this was the most captivated I was by an episode than I've ever been. Because I couldn't look away from all the similarities.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
The camera work for me was number one. I was like, whoa. Normally we wouldn't see some of these things. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was visual eye candy. What is not visual eye candy? There's a couple of things, but the production value has changed for the better. And I was very impressed. Very impressed.
Yes. Yes. I liked a lot of it.
That's a shocker.
Visually speaking, a lot of it did not look Bush League anymore.
Nope.
I just am a little nervous that they're a little too on the nose with being closer to WWE, and that could hurt them. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe people just start not realizing they're not watching WWE.
Maybe the casual viewer gets confused and sees this and is like, oh.
There's a good chance. I did think about that. There's a good chance a casual viewer flips through, thinks it's WWE, and gives it a much better shot than they gave it before. They could get a lot more honest of an opportunity to grow an audience. Because you could have someone click through. Because before, like, remember NWA Twitter when they fucking trashed it? What's this bootleg WWE? Like, they thought it was like a cheap knockoff version. Where now they'll see it and they go, oh, is this another WWE? And then once they realize it's not, they go, oh, this looks pretty slick. They might give it a fair chance that they might not have given it before. So that could be a huge positive.
And if you were to click on the right time and it was someone you didn't know, like, let's just say it was like the Acclaimed. Okay. You would be curious, like, oh, who are these guys? You know, things like that. Ricky faced Jericho, but if he didn't face Jericho and he faced somebody else, but it kind of felt like that. And it was like, oh, okay. You can see that. So definitely, I think I want to see how long this goes. Now, what I also was, two things also with this newness was, one, new year, new location. Holla, West Coast. Okay. We've been waiting. I mean, when we did LA was a little Bush League, okay, for what it should be, especially with a lot of the people backstage, like your Christopher Daniels and with Frankie, you know, so you missed that, the Bucks, Cutler, all these people, a lot of LA-based people, you know, Birdie King, Jungle Boy, all this shit. And it was underwhelming. But now, with the production value and everything, and that hot crowd, that was the hottest crowd I think AEW has ever had. It basically said, fuck you, Chicago. Good on you, fucking Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle was
good on you.
Do you think any part of that is that production was so bad at properly showing the crowd? Do you think production actually got to a point where they could mic the crowd appropriately and shoot shots that make it look very packed? and
Yep.
active. Because
Mhm.
I noticed
And
a lot
actually,
more of those like drone style shots, a lot
mhm,
more of those crane shots, a lot more of like how do you pan the crowd and make it look busy? You know what
mhm,
I mean? Where
mhm.
I don't remember seeing any of those before. It's always like, man, this is
No,
a huge packed house. It might not be more packed than any of the other houses. It might just be shot in a way where now.
I think it's the way it was shot, but also how much fucking pride they had during that Swerve match, chanting Defy. And I know a lot of those people. Defy is run in a very small place. Washington Hall is not big, but it's got a beautiful vibe. And it was great that a lot of my Defiance friends were there. They were loud, they were proud, and they were in the front. Not hard cam, because I didn't really recognize anybody in the hard cam. Okay, this is another beef of mine. Okay,
Mhm.
I swear, I need, like, I'm not because of what I am. I'm like, you need good representation. Because I know when it comes to San Francisco, I know when they come here, I know the kind of crowds that are there. Okay.
Mm.
It's mostly in the front. And even in LA too, it really should be this where it's mostly gonna be your Hispanics and your Asians, my fat ass, at least in San Francisco and whatnot. So I do have front row. I don't have a ticket for Revolution yet. I'm working on that.
Mm.
But I do have my ones for um I do have my ones for Dynamite and Rampage. I am going to go to Sacramento. I don't have a ticket for that yet, but that's okay. I will get it. But I think it really is one of those things where the crowd really makes a difference. And I think that having this new production, better camera angles, and a hot crowd, one that was pretty much hot from the get-go ish, I think really made the difference.
Mm.
And yes, you did have a lot of hometown people. Yes, we saw the introduction of Nick Wayne, which I thought was pretty kind of cool. Um, we'll probably see him wrestle on their roster in about a year. It was cool to see all these things. And I'm hoping that this momentum comes through Portland,
Yeah.
where they're doing Battle of the Belts and they're doing Rampage Live. I'm hoping that comes through this week. So it'll be very
Yeah.
interesting to see what they do with that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
You
Excited
know, one
to
of the
see what
big
happens.
bummers, we're not like ratings gurus or nothing, but we do see them sometimes and find them interesting. The what I thought was unfortunate is I saw it come across my feed today.
Mhm.
They tied with their lowest viewership of 2022 on this one. And I was like,
Wow.
damn, this would have been a good one to get a lot of people, you
Mhm.
know, like because it looks so different. But I mean, I
But
think that there's a good chance that they could build
but
from
are,
this.
question, are people talking about the stylized thing? Now, ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, my feed is weird.
Mm,
So I don't see a lot of reaction.
that's true. I was
So,
finding particularly like looking for larger accounts who were tweeting out like pictures or sets of it and said, "Hey, what do you guys think of the new look?" And then just looking through their comments to kind of get a feel because I don't see a bunch of otherwise.
mhm,
Um, I saw a lot of people give it a lot of shit. A lot of their fans looked like they said there was too WWE, and I was like, that's what I was meaning. Like it might not go well looking too much like WWE.
mhm,
Like I do think it's cool and I think it looks great. And so for me, I'm like watching it, like this is great to experience.
mhm,
Even stuff I didn't like, I was watching. Where a
mhm.
lot of
I'm
times I'll
curious.
turn away.
I'm curious what Clump would think.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
curious about that one. Just
Yeah.
because
So
it's totally different in a way.
yeah.
Will this momentum keep up? I'm hoping. I'm hoping that these other West Coast shows prove that one, West Coast, Best Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Revolution's gonna really define the pay-per-view situation on the West Coast. It's the
Yeah.
home of the Warriors. Uh world or NBA champion Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Gotta throw that in there. If you're into that shit. and they're at the legendary Cow Palace. Cow Palace is small, 6,000. Has it sold out? No. Will it? It could. But I think a lot of people, there's a lot of people who are, it's really going to depend on the lead up to it. What's going to be on what's that card going to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because if you all love Will Hobbs back there as much as you do, this should be a King's homecoming.
Yep.
He should be getting some gold there and put respect on his fucking name and respect in this area. But we'll see. Don't know. I really hope that it also sparks lights a fire under Tony's ass that we're getting more things out here. Ring of Honor, when that gets, I think he had mentioned before, 4 big pay-per-views. The biggest ones I always thought for the Ring of Honor year always were, they're 5. And that would be anniversary show in March, which was always in Las Vegas. Before that would be Super Card of Honor. Or actually, yeah, Super Card of Honor was usually a couple weeks after. Super Card of Honor. The third was Global Wars. I always thought was a huge, big event. Then you would have Death Before Dishonor, Final Battle. If I'm mistaken and there's one in there missing that some people think is a pillar of them, please let me know. But those are the ones that were the pillars, the big 5.
Yeah.
I wish in a way, and not because it's in Las Vegas, I really wish in a way that he kind of kept those traditional things of it. Doing Final Battle either in Baltimore after they couldn't fill Hammerstein anymore, but Hammerstein really was Final Battle area. Global Wars was always a Midwest thing. And obviously Supercard of Honor wherever they did it. Because Death Before Dishonor and Anniversary were always Vegas. And they were good times. Good times, great memories. And I think that would be really good. Now, I'm also thinking that this new production is also that teaser of, all right, yeah, we have Honor Club coming back, but we really need a TV deal for this. So it's that proving of we can have a good looking visual product, and I can do this for three different shows. That's the other thing.
No, not at all. That ship's already sailed. They wouldn't open up Honor Club if they were anywhere near getting a TV deal. They just didn't get it.
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't you wouldn't have an Honor Club and TV deal. He waited so long to mention the Honor Club because the TV deal failed.
Yeah, but I also don't like the fact that, okay, you're paying every month for it, but they should have had the model where you were paying $200 and it got me the pay-per-views.
Yeah, well, they didn't. So
it didn't.
An even bigger indication they didn't get the TV deal. They were hoping to make more money on the TV deal. They didn't get an offer at all. So they're like, okay, we got to make something.
Mm-hmm.
Because he spent all
that
that
money. You're buying
money
Honor Club though, really, for all that footage.
Yeah, that's their hope.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Ricky Starks beating Jericho?
That was the right move.
I hope that's the end of that. But they had that whole thing afterwards with Action Andretti, and I think they're going to do a tag match now. And I think Ricky needs to get the fuck away from this. Get out.
Well,
like that. You did as best as you can do with that. Get out.
But where do you go?
Doesn't matter.
I would love to see him and Darby again.
Well, you could now.
Let's face it. That match with the skateboard off the back, that was the one that everybody, that was like wasn't that the one that was the first, like, because that was in the mid part of the show. And that was the first time they hit 1 million viewers for that at that particular time.
No idea.
I think so. And it was pandemic time. So, you didn't really have a crowd. But that match was hot.
Yeah.
And the birth of Darby and everything, that was great.
The problem you're going to have, though, is that you're not going to put the title on Darby and not leave it on him for a while. So if Starks goes towards Darby now, he's just going to go lose over there.
True. The only other person I think that could get that belt is Hobbs.
Yeah. I can see that.
But you let Darby have it for a couple of months,
Yeah.
So now it's funny that you look at it and it's like, well, where's Wardlow now?
Yeah. No fucking
Mhm.
clue what's going
And
on
where
with
are
it.
all these people? So it's that weird door. Now, with Ricky, people want to hear him talk. Now, that's loud and clear. And I think that with Jericho and all of this, obviously Action Andretti is Jericho's little buddy. So we're, having to promote him. And if you have to use Ricky Starks, then you have to use Ricky Starks. Is he dumb for kind of going along with this? Yes, absolutely. Because you know what? You're better than all this. But if you have to grasp on opportunity and ride coattails to get you there, then you're going to have to do what you got to do. But I don't know. I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday. And, obviously Jericho has his favorites. Tony has his favorites and stuff. And we were talking about why certain people have passes. Like, obviously Guevara is a backstage cancer drama person and his wife. And I heard a rumor that that's why they lost the AAA titles.
Hmm.
Because they charted some stuff in the back there. So, just things like that. So it's not just Phil, it's a lot of people. But it's one of Jericho's favorites. So, there's a lot of favoritism. So you either play the game or you don't. And I think that with Ricky, he needs to get away from it. But then at the end of the day, if you're not getting valued and no one's wants to be on your cause and you have to jump on other people, at the end of the day, you got to think about it to yourself of maybe this really isn't the place to be. It's not always greener on the other side. But nonetheless, it was great. He needs to ditch the white gear, look like a diaper again. And that was that.
Adam Page and Tony Schiavone and Moxley, that whole segment was like, it was all right, but I mean,
And
the mic issues
Schiavone.
didn't help anything. Schiavone
No.
didn't help anything.
Mm-mm.
I don't like the whole not medically cleared thing, and you're in the ring and teasing to get physical. So a lot of it didn't click with me, and I think Moxley did the best he could with a shitty situation with the mic not working the way that it was. But it really stifled the beginning of that promo, because there's a while where you can just hear the crowd is making all this noise because they can't hear him and they're trying to figure out a way to let him know, and that's when they started chanting, right? And he's like trying to figure out, like, why the fuck are they talking over me? They never do this, right? And then Moxie said fuck a couple of times, so that's all that takes for someone to get in trouble. So I don't know. I mean, that's not really my place, right? I'm not an executive of anything, but you just watch that stuff sometimes and you go, that might not go well. I don't know. I'm not that excited for Hangman versus Moxley, but I bet you it's going to be a good match.
It should be a good match. Should be.
That's true.
Will it be? I don't know.
Yeah.
They've dropped the ball with Hangman so many times that I don't.
That's a good point. I think maybe it's just a Page thing. I think I'm just tired and done with him. Like his weird, what do they call him? I mean, it's not a whiny cowboy, but he's like the millennial cowboy or some shit. Like,
yeah,
I don't like any of it.
No.
You know what I mean? He's just like this weird, sad.
Hangman was a force when the company started.
Yeah.
They went the wrong way.
I said on the show he should have been the first champion. Our first review of their first pay-per-view, I said, well, it should have been Page. He should be their first champion. Make a statement.
Yeah.
And now I'm all like, I don't want him anywhere near the title.
My thing is just more like, if you need to give Page something, give us what we want. And most people want that old elite back. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Book flip and all that bullshit. If you want to go there. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know, but I'm just sick of Moxley. Same shit every week. Bad theme.
I hate the music. You know
I
what
know
I
you
really
do.
liked? I didn't hear Justin Roberts once. I think they replaced
Was
him with
he
Dasha.
there? Oh yeah, you know why? It's because he has some family issues.
Really? I thought this was the best announcing I'd ever heard. I didn't mute the sound one time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is great. She's perfect for this. This is what she should be doing.
Well, because I mean, Justin Roberts. Well, see, I didn't know that because Dasha was doing it last week too. So I guess he had some kind of family thing. I don't know.
Huh.
But I prefer Dasha.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying I hope he has more family things. I'm just saying that she's really good at this and she should be doing this.
She's very good at this.
But yeah, the music bothered me. I do think that it wouldn't hurt to have a break from Moxley a little bit because he's also so closely associated with a lot of the mess, and not in the bad way, in the way that he stepped up.
Yeah.
But it might not be bad to kind of like let him have a break and come back in 3-4 months and then remind people that you're here and you're a badass and you're gonna do a tear. And now it just feels all like, what are we doing?
Well, again, I thought he was supposed to have
feels
that
like a
break.
forced story.
It is, and I thought he was supposed to have that break, and he never got that break.
And that's the other thing is I think that the reports of that ruined a lot of things for people because I think now everyone sees every time he does a loss or something, it's like, okay, now he's gonna go away, and then he does it, and everyone goes, I don't know. So I don't know if that hurts him too, but the tag title match, the Acclaim versus Lethal and Jarrett, that whole finish was fucking dumb. Like bad. The whole ref thing, the restarting the match, the who was it? What's his name? Who was standing on the outside? Not Sanjay. The big giant. Satnam. He was standing out there and he didn't do anything, but all of a sudden a dozen refs come out and start trying to like shoo him away. And then fucking Aubrey gets involved in the match, being like, no, the guy did the thing. And you're like, why does it matter now? You guys,
oh my God.
You guys don't give a shit all the time. And now suddenly there's a rules thing. It was just so out of place. It wasn't even that this couldn't have worked ever or literally in any other company, but AEW has made it a point to orchestrate and highlight that their referees are incapable of doing what referees do anywhere else. They do not matter. So this whole thing was way out of place and really dumb, and I didn't like any bit of it.
Well,
and it actually made me feel for the heels. I was all like, Jarrett and Lethal kind of got screwed on that.
They do.
You know what I mean?
They
totally got screwed because, like, yeah, the guy's foot was on the rope. The dude pushes it away. The ref doesn't see it. That's a win. For any villain to cheat behind the ref's back, that's the win, right? That's what they do. For a ref to come out of nowhere and suddenly stop the match when we just had several matches and we have matches week after week where somebody cheats to win and no one comes out and switches it, that makes the bad guys look like they got screwed because that's never happened to anyone else. No one has ever had a call reversed, no matter how many referees are around, because of cheating that was done in the ring. So now you're pinpointing the villains and you're effectively setting an example out of them that you've never set for anybody else.
Well, you know why they did this, right?
It was probably Jeff's booking because he's used to having refs that matter.
No. No. We had to highlight the return home of one Aubrey Edwards.
Oh my God, was that it?
Yes.
Awful.
Yeah, because she posted a photo on her Instagram. Was like, oh yeah, all her friends and family. Yeah, look, there was her husband, and then the man that she allegedly had an affair with, who is a problematic person who got kicked out of Seattle wrestling. Yeah, the guy who trained her.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
I don't understand, but whatever. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
She was horrible in that. I hate watching her do that Ricky match, but it was Jericho. And I was like, there was so much bullshit there. It's like, did you not see out of the corner of your eye, because of the way you're positioned, and it wasn't camera angle, it was the way you're positioned. Did you not see the fact that fucking the unobnoxious guy hit Ricky in the fucking face with a bat? And it did not look very pretty. And then, all of this other bullshit. I'm like, you are the worst ref and you make it about yourself and I hate it. Go away. Give me ref Paul Turner. Senior official
I
Paul
loved
Turner.
that while she was in there doing that thing and trying to do it, that Jeff goes over and like stands by her and starts pushing her with his legs. Such an asshole move.
I loved
So
it.
fucking good. But at
I'm
the
like,
same
Jeff,
time,
do
I
you
was like,
feel-
he's right. Who the fuck is she?
Mhm.
She needs to get the fuck out. Who is she? Not that we don't know who she is, but have they ever called her the senior official to begin with? I thought that was Paul Turner.
Paul Turner
Secondly,
is the senior official.
Yeah. So she's just some other ref who's coming in to do this. Why are you trying to screw me out of my win? No one
only
interrupts
time
your
she-
matches that you miss fucking read all the time.
The only
what I
time
mean?
she's ever a senior official has been on the Jericho cruise
That makes sense.
when
It's a
Turner's
boat.
not there. Don't really count. It's a boat.
Yeah, it was just the wrong company to do that angle because it's out of place in so many ways. Let's see.
Again.
Jungle Boy cut his pretty. I mean, the thing about Jungle Boy's promo is they had him backstage with kind of a backdrop, much like they do for SmackDown and Raw, which was cool. But it's him and Hook and whatever. Bryan Danielson, Tony Nese, I liked. I liked the MJF and Danielson back and forth for the most part. There's little bits here and there where I was kind of like, whatever, but it's fine.
Bullshit every time.
Yeah.
Ricky called me out.
Yeah. The low hanging fruit thing. Yeah. All that's true. And it was MJF said something. Again, I couldn't figure out if it was a actually not self-aware or a heel not being self-aware heat thing. But he said something and I was like, does it make sense? Not for you. You know what I mean? Oh, and I totally called it. The first time they showed the belt with the stupid print, I said it on episode 1. He said, it's the big Burberry belt or the Triple B. And I was like, oh, they're never going to call it Burberry again. It's going to be Triple B from now on because he can't call it Burberry because that shit's trademarked like fuck. And it was an iron-on and we knew it. And I was like, Burberry doesn't want anything to do with that. So he says it every time, me and the Triple B. And I was like, he's absolutely, they said we could get away with it once. Then they're going to give us a cease and desist, so we can't do it again. So every time I hear him say the Triple B, I was like, fucking idiot. I do think it's weird they're going to go for a 60-minute match. I think it's 60-minute Iron Man match between Danielson and MJF. That is a tall order. There's only one other, on a national level on TV pay-per-views, there's only one other match that's ever done that, and that was Brett and Shawn.
Yeah.
And Pat Patterson had to convince Vince McMahon that it would work because it's Brett and Shawn. That was the reason. They said, why would this ever work? And his reason was, it's Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. They can do it. It wasn't that the match works because of context. It was, these two dudes are on such a high level, they will do it. And even then, it's one of my favorite matches of all time. But I also understand it's a lot of people's most overrated match of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Did not click for a lot of people. So if Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels didn't click for a lot of people, MJF and Bryan Danielson have a tall order. You know what I mean?
Now, if you're a Ring of Honor old school viewer, Danielson has had plenty of the Iron Man matches.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites, again, was him versus young, spry Colt Cabana.
They had an hour-long match?
Colt's done 2 that I know of from Ring of Honor. Him and Lethal, man, in Atlanta, please, people, go watch that match. That match was beautiful. The last time he ever got to wrestle for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. But that match was beautiful. Yeah. And Colt fucked up the end too. He talked about it on his podcast. Because doing a 60-minute Iron Man is tough. It's a tall order. But when you're not doing that a lot and regularly, so by the time you're hitting that end of the, those last few minutes, like one of the things he planned on doing on to Lethal was he was doing one of his acai moonsaults from the corner. he fucked up the timing. It was too early for him to try to hit it
Yeah.
to get one more pin in, and then he was when he talked about it on his podcast, he was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh fuck. He did it twice. He didn't do it again, and he was like, my body. He's like, I don't know how I did it. He says because my body was so tired and hurting at that point. He did it again. He's like, never again. And he, like, when he landed on Lethal, I think he had said he had grabbed. He's like, oh god, yeah. But yeah, no, Danielson's done quite a few of them. I think there was one against Nigel McGuinness that was really, really great. I want to say maybe there's one with Hero too. Yeah, but there's quite a few. But yeah. And how do you do an Iron Man match when you know you're a known cheater? You don't win clean.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Well, they've also never had a disqualification. There's only
True.
been one disqualification ever, and it was Thunder Rosa.
Of all people.
Yeah.
Thunder. Yeah.
Kuro does say MJF versus Bryan promo was so contradicting. This was the moment that I actually was thinking of it. He nailed it. MJF says wins and losses matter, but here's a match for a pay-per-view that relies on us booking the other opponent to win every match, so his wins and losses don't matter now because he's going to win every match. Yes, but here was the even more, this was the part that I meant where I was like, I couldn't tell if it was like actually self-aware or not self-aware. MJF has only been number one contender by winning gimmick matches that make you number one contender. He never won by winning matches. It wasn't his wins and losses matter. It was winning one match mattered. He won the chip. That's how he's the champion now, because he didn't even win the match. Stokely won the match. Stokely went up to the ladder and pulled down the chip and handed it to MJF. So not only did the wins and losses not matter, his win did not matter in a history where winning doesn't matter. The majority of world title matches are done by battle royal winners, ladder match winners, random tournament winners. No one almost ever is ranked number one because of all their wins, and then they get a match. You know what I mean? So it was just,
I don't even understand the ranking. No one does.
Yeah, and I'm glad they've mostly dropped it. I only bring it up because when you say things like wins and losses matter, you make me think of your rankings, because that was the whole purpose behind your rankings. Wins and losses matters where you rank you. But I think what he's trying to say is win the right match, and that matters, right? But you've created a weird thing.
So that goes to show you that he is not as great on the mic.
Yeah. Kuro does say I've officially started calling it AEW just because of the set alone. Yeah, the set is so WWE.
Yeah.
Running through the rest of the show, there was a bunch of stuff I did not care about. I did want to mention, not even talking about Britt's lame promo, but I guess you used the word boss one time and someone said something about that. But Saraya said that Sheeta was so good. Sheeta's so good. I'm sitting next to one of the best in the world. That's why Tony Storm, I want you to be my partner. And then Sheeta looks all like, what? And so now there's a big back and forth on, did they announce Tony as the partner so that way people would stop saying it's Sasha, so that way when they don't deliver Sasha, it's not under delivering? Because we said that before. If it's not Sasha Banks, you better fucking say beforehand, because people think it's going to be her. I think there's a possibility for a couple things. I think one, it could have been, I don't know, it could have been meant to be Mercedes, and the deal never got done. And it wasn't going to be what she wanted. She wasn't going to buckle to what they wanted. She walked away from WWE for not wanting to do what they wanted. So if Tony wasn't going to buckle to what she wanted, I'm not doing a thing. So I think that there's every possibility that the deal fell through, and that's why they said it's going to be Tony. I think they've left wiggle room to allow that if they're able to close the deal, they can, because they had Sheeta give this look. So now you can have Sheeta attack Tony to get her out of the match, so the new replacement could be Mercedes. There's some people who thinks the Tony thing is a swerve all along anyways, and that Tony's only there to make people think it's not Mercedes, so when it is Mercedes, it's a bigger pop. I kind of think the deal fell through, and they're hedging their bets and trying to die down the conversation, but leave a window open just in case. Because so many things they do in book never come up again. They just never do. And this could be another one of those things where it's all like, oh, remember that time that she said the thing to Sheeta and she gave that face and then they never broached it? Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I have two theories. One, with Sheeta and that whole Scooby-Hoo kind of moment, I thought one of two things. And with Sheeta getting heated, Sheeta's going to show up and it's going to be a triple threat, and her partner is going to be Mercedes. Or, guess who comes back? Thunder. And it's totally under wraps. That's a huge possibility.
Yep.
I'd rather have Thunder, to be quite honest, than Mercedes at this point.
Yeah.
That's where I thought the big swerve is going to be. Is it's going to end up being a triple threat. Sheeta's going to be involved with a mystery partner. And I wholeheartedly believe it's Thunder. Because bringing Thunder back into this whole mix with, there's the woman who was the interim. Here's the one now who's not the interim. Here's the big bad bitch, Britt Baker. And you have the new kid on the block. You have Saraya.
Yeah.
And who obviously Sheeta feels slighted. And she and Sheeta had good match. So I think that, I could see Sheeta using, you have, like one of the best. That's my partner. I can see that happening. And using Thunder in that role is great. Because we all need it. And I think that she because she is so beloved by that fandom, that fandom period. We need her. We need her back. And this is a great way to bring her back where no one knows.
Could be, especially if you've died down the Sasha argument. Now, if she shows up, it's going to be cool. Britt Baker said the boss, but that's not even Mercedes' gimmick anymore. Also, just want to throw out another name, Chelsea Green.
She signed. Didn't she sign back to WWE?
No one knows that for sure.
Oh, I thought she was officially.
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I know of, but could be.
I don't think it's Chelsea Green. No. I really don't. It's really either going to be, yes, that's the swerve to Mercedes, but honestly, I think it's Thunder.
Yeah.
There's no way, because when you want to say, if you're saying, oh, the best, blah blah blah, and then you slight Sheeta with that, Sheeta can be fuck you. You know who really the best is this one.
Yeah.
We all know it. We all know it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it. Yeah, those two bitches across the way. And if it's something stupid like Nyla Rose, I'm like, oh God, we're fucked. Please don't let it be Nyla Rose. No offense, Nyla, but no.
That would be funny. Kiro does say, just based on how underwhelming AEW surprise has been for 3 now going on 4 years. Yeah, for the most part, I agree. So the last thing we'll talk about tonight, the main event, Samoa Joe, Darby Allin.
Yes. Oh wait, Swerve. Can we mention how beloved Swerve is in that damn city before we go on to the last
Sure, go ahead.
Man, that is Swerve's house. You cannot deny it. It is so much Swerve's house that crowd was chanting Defy loud. They never chant for anybody else's promotion like that. They don't. I've not heard one. If you've heard one, people, you need to tell me what it was. But there's none. Maybe GC Dub, but I doubt that. Like when Cage was there. But I'm talking a local indie. And we all know Defy, if anyone's been there. The Defiance is great. Don't get me wrong. They pay a lot of money for the stars they're getting. Am I jealous sometimes? Absolutely. But then again, it's all good. But that is Swerve's house. And I thought that crowd really showed how the West Coast loves. The West Coast is best coast, and the West Coast deserves to have AEW in the rotation. I want it to be so that people back east are like, fuck, why are they in California and the West Coast? Why are they in Seattle all the time? Why are they in Portland all the time? Why are they in LA all the time? Why are they in San Diego? Fresno's going to be lame. I'm gonna put that out there. But Fresno crowd, if you prove me wrong, yeah. But I don't expect much from that one. I do expect a lot out of San Francisco, and I'm going to make it my damnedest to support that because I want Ring of Honor because I want to see Colt Cabana. I want to see all my favorites, and I don't like to travel. Air is expensive. So, I've heard a lot of rumblings. A lot of people who normally come out to WrestleCon and the collective from back east are not coming to LA because it's so expensive this year. That makes my heart happy. So that means better tickets. So, yay. But anyways, so Seattle's legit. Seattle is legit. They're too legit to quit. That's a Bay Area thing if you don't know. Anyways.
Kool-Aid Man 883 said, do you guys talk about how awesome Ospreay is, best in the world? We talked about him earlier. You have to go back and
I
listen.
don't talk about how awesome he is. Are you kidding?
We talked about him. Don't give away the spoiler. Make him go back and listen.
Yeah, go back and listen.
Yeah,
but anybody knows on episode 1 how I feel about Ospreay.
Samoa Joe versus Darby Allin. What do you think of this?
Well, Joe, I don't know. It was funny. I'm the king of TV. And then I knew that going into it, Joe was not walking out of Seattle with that title. That was all going to be all Darby. That's a King's Homecoming. And if it wasn't him that was walking out of there with a belt, either Swerve or Danielson would walk out of there with a belt. I don't know. I'm kind of with Darby. I'm kind of like over Darby in the sense that it's like you get totally pounded and then all of a sudden you're like, you rise from the dead. I get it, and whatnot. I just think that I don't know. It's just awkward because we know Joe could like break Darby in half with his like pinky, probably his pinky toe. Let's go there. So I don't know, but I mean, it was just okay. But I think the crowd really was the big motivator in that. I thought. But
Kool-Aid Man is asking if you're going to PWG Bola. You said you're not, right?
No, we talked about that earlier. No,
it's in there earlier.
But that's okay. I am going to be very, very mad though if Kings of the Black Throne are there on Sunday. I'm going to be fucking pissed. But it's okay. It's my own fault and kind of my work's fault. So
my problem with the Darby Samoa Joe match is if it was anyone else against Darby, I can usually buy it. But it's fucking Samoa Joe.
I know.
And then at a certain point, Darby's getting a comeback by punching Joe in the stomach. And Joe has to sell the punches to the stomach and go down. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
You know what it was like to me? What it reminded me of? Remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out?
Yeah.
King Hippo?
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of. And I was like, come on, Samoa
Joe nearly choked out Brock Lesnar. But Darby Allin's too much for him. You know what I mean? Like Brock Lesnar sold for Samoa Joe like a maniac. If you've never seen the Samoa Joe Brock Lesnar match, go watch it. I want to say it was Great Balls of Fire. It was a weird name for a pay-per-view, but it's incredible. Brock Lesnar.
Was that pay-per-view one of the ones that had substituted for Great American Bash?
No, but that match, Brock Lesnar sold so fucking much for Joe. Everything Joe did was dominant and crazy, and Brock Lesnar looked like he barely got out of there alive. But Darby Allin punches Samoa Joe in the stomach a couple times. Samoa Joe hits his head on not even a fully exposed turnbuckle, a partially exposed turnbuckle, and then he's done because of a coffin drop, which, by the way, Darby doing a coffin drop on Samoa Joe looks silly and stupid. It looked terrible. If it wasn't for Darby's hometown, I don't think the crowd would have reacted this way. And watching it from home, I didn't give a fuck it was his hometown. I just felt like the wrong guy had the title at the time. Like Darby could have won there, and that would have been great. But the title should have been off Samoa Joe, because I'm not for 1 second buying a punch from Darby Allin will take down Samoa Joe.
Told you, King Hippo. Mike Tyson's punch
Even
out.
then, it took like 3 or 4 in a row, and you had to get him at the right time.
That was King Hippo with Mike Tyson's punch out. It took like 3 or 4 to the gut. And
That's what I'm saying. You didn't get all
knock
that.
him out.
And then it was an uppercut after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
not...
punch, uppercut. Yeah. Someone was playing Mike Tyson's punch out. I think Tony, the fanboy,
said, "This is
was
how we
playing
book
Mike
it?"
Tyson's punch out. And was like, oh my God, I'm so inspired with this match. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're using Mike Tyson's punch out on Nintendo to book a finish for a match or book something, a part of the match, that's really sad.
Yeah. Also, Samoa Joe got the choke on Brock Lesnar, and Brock turned bright red and nearly passed out with it. He gets the choke on Darby, and Darby fights his way out of it. What the fuck? Like, that's what I mean. Like, there was too many times that Darby getting a comeback made absolutely zero sense, because I know how actually badass Samoa Joe is and how tough and strong he is, that you just go, okay, this is just as phony as it gets.
Yeah.
Darby's not winning a fight with Samoa Joe. And even that, it started with Darby using a skateboard. Where's Aubrey then? Run out there now. Turn the match around. People are cheating. Don't you want to fix it? I thought it was super stupid, just because I'm not buying Samoa Joe losing to Darby.
No.
Not in a match like that. The match was built so competitive, and it shouldn't have been. Not at all. If Darby's going to win, it had to be somehow a crazy, lucky, dominant thing quick. Like a sucker punch kind of a deal where Samoa Joe didn't see it coming. Like, I'm more likely to believe that Darby catches Samoa Joe in the temple and knocks him down than I am that he could fight his way out of the coquina clutch. You know what I mean? You're going to outpower Samoa Joe? No. Nope.
And then I'm going to need to find a gif of King Hippo now.
Yeah. Samoa Joe versus Darby.
And just have someone superimpose the faces on there, because like that's so true. Now I'm like, I'm gonna go back and use my Nest simulator and go play that game. Do the same thing with King Hippo, and that's gonna be what it is. And I'm like, Samoa Joe went down. Said a little maggots, Darby Allin. I swear, if their video game, if that's like the secret to beat Samoa Joe on the game, is to do the King Hippo. Shout out to the game people.
Yeah.
Doing your homework.
This is awful.
But I think terrible. Aubrey, then again, like Aubrey, there was too much Aubrey in this show.
Yeah.
And she's distracting. I will always remember one of my friends at a Bola. It wasn't Bola. It was like one of the last ones where we saw a lot of people before AEW was created, when Tony Khan was there. She reffed, and my friend in the front row, I was behind him. He's like, oh, fuck, not that fucking bitch. And we were laughing. And I'm like, Josh, what the fuck, dude? And he goes, that fucking bitch, fucking ugly ass bitch, to not a fucking referee. She heard him. I was like, that's true. Yeah. She was just a little upset with that, but it's like, dude, you're horrible. Everyone, that crowd also does love Bryce Remsburg, and obviously Rick Knox is king over there. But yeah, there was way too much Aubrey for my taste. Yeah.
Papa Sting comes out, celebrates. That's what it was. But that was Dynamite.
I am over Papa Sting.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now, but I mean, whatever, it's fine. I don't know. I don't like his connection with Darby staying so strong for so long, but whatever.
It's like, why? Why? I'm waiting for someone to come out all Maury Povich style and says, Sting, you're not the father. And somebody else random comes out.
Yeah.
That would be great. I think that would be funny. But yeah.
That could work. LA Park comes out.
On what? 3 years now? Almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Papa Sting. Anything else you want to put over before we go?
Only other thing I want to put over is if you are in the San Jose area or around or are thinking of going to what is it, Battle in the Valley? Or whatever they're calling it, New Japan.
Oh,
in San Jose.
Yeah, February 18th, San Jose.
February 18th.
Yeah, Battle in the Valley.
It's a small venue. Tickets, there's some really good tickets out there.
I heard the tickets have almost sold out already. So
they weren't they weren't last time I looked, but now probably yeah.
Right before we got on the air, I saw it. Someone said it.
They probably took the one I wanted, but again, I would not go. I want to go see Monet. Monet. Sorry, gotta get used to that.
Yeah,
but I don't want to pay to see Ocean Spray again. And I really want to see Zack Sabre Jr. if he shows up.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if he's going to. So
I love me some fucking Dick Sabre Jr. I'm gonna call him Thick Techers now. That's gonna be his new nickname, Thick Techers.
All right, you can do that. But yeah, we'll be back next week for a brand new episode 1 right here in the dive bar. That's the last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.